Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions, the mystery of the Salish Sea Feet. Since 2007, 15 human feet in running shoes have washed ashore in British Columbia. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction. Not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. On August 20, 2007, a 12-year-old girl walking on Jedediah Island in British Columbia made a discovery that would begin one of the strangest series of events in Canadian forensic history. Lying on the beach was a human foot, still inside an Adidas running shoe, size 12, with the remains of a sock and decomposed flesh attached. Police were called. The foot was examined and found to be a right foot, belonging to a large adult male, and had been in the water for some time. The case was filed as unusual, a coroner was involved, and investigators began trying to identify whose foot it was. 6 days later, another foot washed ashore on Gabriola Island, 2 kilometers away. This one was a right foot too, inside a Reebok shoe, size 12, belonging to another adult male. 2 feet, 6 days apart. 2 different islands, 2 different men. By 2019, the count had reached 15 human feet, all below the ankle, all found inside athletic shoes or rubber boots, had washed ashore in the Salish Sea, the body of water bounded by the British Columbia coast and Vancouver Island. The feet belonged to at least 12 different individuals. Some were matched by DNA to missing persons cases. Some have never been identified. Several belong to people who are believed to have died by suicide by jumping from the Patullo Bridge over the Fraser River. One belonged to a woman. Some have been matched to each other, a right foot and a left foot from the same person found years and kilometers apart. And the fundamental question that has driven public fascination since 2007 has remained: why feet? Why in running shoes? And why so many? The official explanation, that human feet naturally detach in water as soft tissue decomposes, and that modern running shoes provide enough buoyancy to float a foot to shore when the rest of the body has sunk, is broadly accepted by forensic scientists. But it raises its own questions. Why now? Why this waterway specifically? Why mostly right feet in the early finds? And why do the numbers of Salish Sea Feet far exceed the number of feet washing ashore in comparable bodies of water anywhere else in the world? The answers are more mundane than the mystery suggests. But the story of 15 feet on 15 beaches, discovered by beachcombers who could not have imagined what they would find, remains one of the strangest recurring events in modern forensic history. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we go further, if you are finding this investigation compelling, please take a moment right now to like this video, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and share it with someone who loves a good historical mystery. If you are watching on YouTube, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss a new episode. If you found us through Facebook, tap follow on our page. It takes just a few seconds, and it genuinely helps us keep making these documentaries. Now, let us get back to the investigation. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the landscape of modern documented mysteries, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. The 20th and 21st centuries were supposed to be the age of answers. Science had decoded DNA, split the atom, put humans on the moon, and mapped the genome. By the logic of accelerating discovery, every mystery should be converging toward explanation. And yet the ledger of genuinely unexplained phenomena, events witnessed by credible observers, investigated by serious researchers, and still lacking a satisfying account, has not shrunk. If anything, it has grown. Part of this is a failure of classification. Phenomena that do not fit established categories tend to be dismissed rather than investigated, filed under anecdotal or mass hysteria, and removed from serious consideration. This is not always wrong. Genuine hoaxes and misperceptions account for a large portion of anomalous reports. But the dismissal is sometimes premature, and the cost is real. Cases that might have yielded genuine insight are closed before they are fully examined. Witnesses are discredited. Evidence is lost. The question is never properly asked. The cases that endure, that survive rigorous scrutiny, and still refuse to yield to conventional explanation, are a small but significant set. They share certain characteristics: multiple independent witnesses, physical evidence consistent with witness testimony, and a complete absence of any plausible prosaic explanation that accounts for all the data. These are not ghost stories. They are open problems in empirical science, waiting for someone with the right tools and the intellectual courage to take them seriously. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter, the core evidence surrounding the Salish Sea Feet. Since 2007, 15 human feet in running shoes have washed ashore in British Columbia is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. As of 2024, a total of 15 human feet have been found in the Salish Sea, the body of water that includes the Strait of Georgia, Puget Sound, and the waters around Vancouver Island, straddling the Canada-US border. The finds span from 2007 to 2019, with a cluster of finds between 2007 and 2011, and additional finds through the decade. All the feet were found encased in footwear, primarily running shoes, with the separation occurring at or below the ankle joint. Forensic examination of the feet has established that all separations were the result of natural decomposition and animal activity, not cutting or other human intervention. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes, but as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the British Columbia Coroner's Service and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police have investigated each foot found in Canadian waters. DNA analysis has been conducted on all recoverable specimens. Multiple feet have been matched through DNA to individuals previously reported missing. Several appear to be from people who died by suicide by jumping from bridges, including the Patullo Bridge in New Westminster. The geographic distribution of the finds, combined with ocean current modeling, is consistent with bodies entering the water at multiple locations in the Fraser River and Puget Sound systems, and the feet drifting to shore over months or years. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine the forensic science explanation for why feet specifically detach and float involves two factors: the anatomy of the ankle joint and the buoyancy of modern athletic shoes. The ankle joint contains ligaments that, unlike the dense connective tissue higher on the leg, are relatively susceptible to softening through decomposition in cold water. As a body decomposes in water, fish, crabs, and other marine organisms consume soft tissue beginning with the extremities. The ankle joint, being both an extremity and a mechanically complex joint with multiple ligaments rather than a single dense tendon, is among the first points of separation. Once the foot detaches, the modern running shoe's cushioned foam sole provides significant buoyancy, causing the foot, still inside the shoe, to float while the heavier leg and torso sink. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, the reason why this phenomenon appears unique to the Salish Sea, or at least far more common there than elsewhere, is attributed to several factors. The cold water temperature, which slows decomposition and extends the window for feet to detach while soft tissue is still present. The large number of missing persons cases in the region, which provides a population of individuals whose bodies are in the water, the large number of bridge suicides into rivers that flow into the Salish Sea, and the specific oceanographic current patterns of the Strait of Georgia, which funnel floating objects toward beaches. The same phenomenon likely occurs elsewhere, but produces fewer recovered feet because beach-going populations are smaller or beach conditions are less favorable for object accumulation. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain why. Within the accepted framework, these are not fringe commentators, they are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of several of the 15 feet have been definitively identified through DNA matching. One right foot found in 2011 was matched to a 21-year-old man from New Westminster who had been reported missing after last being seen near the Patullo Bridge in 2004. A left foot found in 2016 was matched through DNA to the same individual, whose left foot had been found on a different beach years earlier. 2 feet from the same man found 6 years and many kilometers apart. This matching confirmed both the natural origin of the separations and the accuracy of the forensic identification methods. The most recent finds in 2019 have also been linked through DNA to missing persons cases. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding: the public reaction to the Salish Sea Feet has been disproportionate to the forensic explanation, a phenomenon itself worthy of analysis. The image of a human foot washing ashore inside a running shoe is viscerally disturbing in a way that other evidence of drowning deaths is not, and the recurring pattern of discoveries transformed what is individually a tragic forensic routine into what felt culturally like an ongoing mystery or even a crime series. The initial police statements that foul play was suspected in each case contributed to public anxiety before the decomposition explanation was established. Since the forensic explanation became widely understood around 2010, new finds have generated less panic but continued fascination. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain the Salish Sea Feet. Since 2007, 15 human feet in running shoes have washed ashore in British Columbia. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the natural decomposition theory is the accepted scientific explanation, and the position of both the RCMP and the BC Coroner's Service. Human feet naturally separate from the ankle joint through a combination of bacterial decomposition, marine animal predation, and the mechanical stress of water currents on decomposed ligamentous tissue. Modern running shoes are uniquely buoyant. Their foam midsoles and sealed uppers trap air and provide enough lift to float a foot to shore over weeks or months. The clustering of finds in the Salish Sea reflects the convergence of cold water conditions, a large population of water entry deaths, and favorable ocean currents. This explanation is consistent with all the physical evidence. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence. But it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the serial killer theory was briefly entertained by true crime enthusiasts and some early media coverage, proposing that someone was severing feet from living victims and dumping the remains. This theory was definitively ruled out by the forensic evidence. None of the feet showed signs of sharp instrument cutting, all separations were consistent with natural processes, and the identities established through DNA consistently linked the feet to pre-existing missing persons cases with documented histories. The serial killer interpretation reflects a cultural tendency to narrativize clusters of anomalous events as intentional human action rather than coincidence. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that the airline disaster theory was proposed early in the sequence of finds, suggesting the feet might be from a single catastrophic event, possibly an unrecorded aircraft or boat accident, rather than from multiple individual deaths. This theory was ruled out by DNA analysis, which established that the first several feet found belonged to at least 3 different individuals, making a single event origin impossible. The ongoing identification of the feet with pre-existing individual missing persons cases has further confirmed that they represent deaths spread over many years rather than a single incident. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding the Salish Sea Feet. Since 2007, 15 human feet in running shoes have washed ashore in British Columbia does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes forensic examination of the ankle joints of all recovered feet has been central to the investigation. In every case, the anatomical structures at the point of separation show the characteristic features of natural decomposition: ragged or nibbled edges, no tool marks, evidence of marine organism activity, and tissue condition consistent with extended immersion. Two independent forensic pathologists examining the same specimens have consistently reached the same conclusions. The absence of any evidence of cutting or other human intervention across 15 separate specimens is overwhelming evidence against deliberate mutilation. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented ocean current modeling conducted by researchers at the University of British Columbia has confirmed that the locations where the feet were found are consistent with the known locations where missing persons were last seen or where they are believed to have entered the water. The models, which account for seasonal current patterns and prevailing wind direction, produce predicted drift paths that terminate in the approximate locations of finds. This oceanographic evidence links the Salish Sea finds to specific populations of missing persons rather than to any unknown source, supporting the natural decomposition explanation. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed DNA identification of multiple feet with specific missing persons, including the matching of a right and left foot from the same individual found 6 years and many kilometers apart, provides the strongest possible confirmation of the natural origin hypothesis. The DNA evidence proves not just that the feet are from genuine deceased persons, but that those persons are specifically the individuals whose disappearance was previously documented. This leaves no room for any theory requiring human intervention in the feet's separation or placement. The feet were exactly where ocean currents would carry them from the known locations of their owners' deaths. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding the Salish Sea Feet. Since 2007, 15 human feet in running shoes have washed ashore in British Columbia. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. No new feet have been found in the Salish Sea since 2019, and the phenomenon has retreated from public attention. The BC Coroner's Service continues to maintain a database of unidentified remains, including the feet, whose DNA has not been matched to known missing persons cases, and these cases remain open. Advances in DNA genealogy technology, which has been applied to cold cases across North America since 2018, may eventually allow identification of the few remaining unidentified feet, if suitable DNA profiles can be uploaded to genealogy databases. The Salish Sea Feet phenomenon has become a case study in forensic taphonomy, the study of how bodies decompose after death, and is now regularly cited in academic literature on marine taphonomy and forensic oceanography. The case established that modern athletic shoe design creates a buoyancy mechanism that can transport human feet significant distances, a finding with implications for the recovery of human remains from maritime accidents worldwide. Researchers have since identified similar but less numerous foot discoveries in other cold water environments, including the North Sea and parts of the eastern U.S. coast, suggesting the Salish Sea phenomenon was not unique, but was made visible by the unusual concentration of factors that made finds there so frequent. The mystery is explained, but the explanation is a window into the scale of human loss in the Pacific Northwest waters that is sobering in its own right. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of the Salish Sea Feet. Since 2007, 15 human feet in running shoes have washed ashore in British Columbia. From the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Salish Sea ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process, and the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please help us reach more people. If you are watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new documentary. If you are watching on Facebook, tap the follow button on our page to stay connected. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.